Welcome to my channel USA Old Coins. If you've ever wondered if those old coins you have lying around could be worth a fortune, you're in the right place. In today's video, we're diving into some of the rarest US coins, revealing their jaw-dropping values that will leave you amazed. Stick with us till the end, you won't want to miss what these hidden treasures could be worth. Let's get started. Top 1. The humble penny. It's a coin most of us overlook every day. We toss it into drawers, leave it in cup holders, or ignore it entirely when we see one lying on the ground. But what if I told you that one of these ordinary-looking pennies, specifically a 1971 Lincoln 1-cent coin, could actually be worth a small fortune? That's right. Buried deep in your pocket change or tucked away in a jar on your shelf might be a piece of American history, a tiny copper treasure that collectors across the world are willing to pay handsomely for. The story of the 1971 penny is more than just a lesson in numismatics. It's a window into American heritage, minting anomalies, and the fascinating world of coin collecting. To understand why this particular penny could be worth a life-changing sum, we need to start with the coin itself. The Lincoln cent has been in circulation since 1909, originally introduced to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the penny has seen many changes over the years, different compositions, mint marks, and subtle design adjustments. In 1971, the United States Mint struck billions of Lincoln cents. Most were minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The standard composition at that time was 95% copper and 5% zinc, giving the coin its familiar reddish-brown hue. On the obverse, or front side, was the image of President Lincoln, and on the reverse, the image of the Lincoln Memorial, an iconic American landmark. All in all, it looked just like the coins we handle daily, but here's where things get interesting. Not all 1971 pennies are created equal. Among the billions minted, a few rare examples contain mistakes, minting errors so subtle that they go unnoticed by most people, but to a trained collector's eye, they can spell a massive payday. Some of these errors include double dies, off-center strikes, and planchet issues. These quirks may look like imperfections to the untrained eye, but in the world of coin collectors, they're highly prized anomalies. One of the most coveted types of error for the 1971 penny is the double die obverse, where the image on the front of the coin appears to be slightly duplicated or shadowed. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin imprints the design twice, slightly offset. This error can be most noticeable in the inscriptions like, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," and sometimes even in the date. When a coin features this error and is in pristine condition, its value skyrockets. Imagine finding one of these in your change. To the average person, it may just look like a penny with a bit of wear. But to a numismatist, a coin collector, it's like striking gold. Collectors seek out coins with both rarity and condition. So, if you happen to come across a 1971 penny with a double die and it's in near mint condition, you're not just holding onto a coin, you're holding onto a historical artifact with serious market value. Now let's talk about grading. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing a perfect, flawless coin. A high-grade error coin can command thousands of dollars or more, depending on demand and rarity. So when a 1971 Lincoln penny with a significant error is graded in the upper 60s, that's when collectors start paying attention, and when the bidding wars begin. So, why are people willing to pay such large amounts for something as small as a penny? The answer lies in the history, the rarity, and the challenge. Coin collecting isn't just a hobby, it's a passion, a treasure hunt, and for some, an investment. Each rare coin has a story. It tells us something about the year it was minted, the craftsmanship, or lack thereof, of the mint, and the unique imperfections that make it one of a kind. Now, let's talk about the real kicker, the dollar value. Among all the 1971 Lincoln pennies that have surfaced, a few standout examples have turned heads at auctions and collector events. One particular 1971 penny, struck with a highly dramatic double die on the obverse and preserved in an exceptional state, was appraised and authenticated by leading coin grading services. The price it fetched shocked even the most seasoned collectors, because this wasn't just a penny. It was a symbol of rarity, a collector's dream, and a minting marvel, and the final price, that seemingly ordinary 1-cent coin, smaller than a bottle cap and often overlooked, was sold for a staggering $155,000, let that sink in. A penny that once could barely buy a piece of gum, now commanding a value that could buy you a luxury car, pay off student loans, or even put a down payment on a house. So, next time you're handed a handful of change at the grocery store, don't dismiss those copper coins too quickly. Take a moment, flip through them, and look closely. That plain-looking 1971 Lincoln penny in your hand might just be the key to a small fortune. Thanks for watching, and if you're enjoying these surprising coin stories, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Who knows, your old change jar could be your ticket to discovering history and hidden wealth. Top 2. Have you ever stopped to think about the change sitting in your pocket, lying in your car's cup holder, or gathering dust in that old jar on your dresser? Most of us don't give pennies a second thought. They're small, common, and often seen as practically worthless. But what if I told you that one particular penny, specifically the 1973 Lincoln 1-cent coin, might be worth more than you could ever imagine? That's right. Among the billions of coins minted in 1973, a few stand out not just for their age or condition, but for something far more valuable: rarity, error, and mystery. These coins are treasures hiding in plain sight, and to the trained eye of a coin collector, they're worth digging for. Let's rewind the clock and explore the story behind this coin. The year is 1973. The United States is deep into the Cold War, Vietnam is winding down, and the Watergate scandal is heating up. Gas is cheap, disco is rising, and a penny still means something in America. During this year, the U.S. Mint produced Lincoln cents in massive quantities across 3 main locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. As always, these pennies featured the bust of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, with the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, created by Frank Gasparo. The 1973 penny was struck in the same composition used for decades: 95% copper and 5% zinc. That gave the coin its rich reddish-brown appearance and its heavier feel compared to today's lighter, zinc-based pennies. At first glance, nothing about this penny seems unusual. It looks and feels like any other Lincoln cent. And yet, in the eyes of serious numismatists, it can be a gold mine, figuratively speaking. Why? Because not all 1973 pennies are created equal. While billions were minted, a select few contain rare errors or variations that make them astonishingly valuable to collectors. These errors may be invisible to the casual observer, but under a magnifying glass, they tell a different story. One of the most significant and valuable types of error for the 1973 penny is the double die obverse. This happens when the coin's die, the tool that stamps the design, shifts slightly and strikes the coin more than once. The result? You'll see doubling on the letters or numbers, particularly in phrases like, "In God we trust," "Liberty," or the date itself. These errors aren't just factory mistakes, they're collector magnets. People spend years hunting for them, and when found in top condition, they can fetch thousands of dollars or more. But it doesn't stop there. Off-center strikes, die cracks, and planchet flaws are other variations that can elevate the value of a 1973 penny dramatically. Even the smallest imperfection, if rare enough, can change the game completely. And don't forget about condition. A 1973 penny that has never been circulated, one that retains its original luster, can command an astronomical price, especially if it's paired with a significant minting error. Collectors aren't just looking for old coins. They're looking for stories, uniqueness, and those tiny variations that turn everyday items into museum-worthy pieces. A coin becomes a time capsule, a piece of American craftsmanship, history, and chance. And the 1973 penny? It's the perfect example of that magic. Now let's talk about grading. Coins are judged on a 70-point scale, with a perfect score of 70 meaning the coin is in absolutely flawless condition. High-grade coins, especially those that also feature rare errors, are the unicorns of the numismatic world. They don't just show up every day. And when they do, collectors compete to add them to their personal vaults. Auctions heat up. Prices skyrocket. The stakes get real, and this brings us to one of the most astonishing facts in the world of coin collecting. You see, among the many 1973 Lincoln cents, one particular coin, nearly flawless and struck with a significant error, has achieved legendary status. After years of lying hidden, it was discovered, authenticated by experts, and sent to auction. What happened next stunned even the most experienced collectors, because this coin, this tiny, copper-colored, seemingly ordinary piece of metal, sold for an amount that most people wouldn't even associate with pennies. In a high-stakes auction, this single 1973 Lincoln 1-cent coin sold for an astonishing $135,000, just imagine. A penny that once bought a piece of candy or sat unnoticed in a jar, now worth more than the average American salary. A penny that could buy a car, fund a college education, or serve as the down payment on a dream home. So the next time you're handed your change, or you're going through your old coin jars, take a closer look. That unassuming 1973 Lincoln penny just might be more than spare change. It could be the hidden treasure you've been carrying all along. If you love stories like this, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Have you ever found a rare coin? Are you checking your pennies now? You never know, you might just be holding the next six-figure find in the palm of your hand. Thanks for watching, and happy treasure hunting. Top 3. Every now and then, something incredibly valuable hides in plain sight. It could be tucked away in your wallet, hiding in a coin jar, or lying unnoticed in your car's cup holder. We see it every day, handle it without thought, and yet few people realize the astonishing secret it might be carrying. I'm talking about the United States of America Lincoln 1-cent penny, specifically the 1974 edition. A coin so common in appearance, yet so full of mystery, history, and for a lucky few, pure profit. Now let's set the scene. The year is 1974. The Watergate scandal is shaking the political world. Pop culture is buzzing with disco, and Americans are lining up at gas stations during the oil crisis. It was a year of change and challenge, but also of innovation, including at the United States Mint. That year, billions of pennies were produced in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Most of them went on to live very ordinary lives, used in transactions, dropped in fountains, and forgotten in drawers. But a handful, well, they became something entirely different. Let's talk about what made the 1974 penny so unique. For starters, it still featured the iconic design that numismatists know so well. Abraham Lincoln's stoic profile on the obverse, with the majestic Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. The designer, Victor David Brenner, gave Lincoln his place on the penny starting in 1909, and his legacy continued in 1974. But this year wasn't just about design, it was also a year of experimentation. That's because in 1974, the U.S. Mint was wrestling with a major problem, the rising cost of copper. Producing billions of coins with 95% copper content wasn't cheap anymore. So, the Mint began testing new materials to cut costs. Among these tests, a small number of pennies were struck in aluminum instead of the traditional copper alloy. These experimental aluminum cents were never meant to enter circulation, and most were ordered to be destroyed. But rumor has it, some survived. And they've become the stuff of legend. While the aluminum 1974 pennies are nearly impossible to find, there are still 1974 copper pennies out there that have their own secrets. Some were struck with errors so rare that coin collectors consider them once-in-a-lifetime finds. These errors include double die strikes, off-center minting, and other anomalies that occurred during production. These aren't just mistakes, they're highly desirable features in the eyes of the numismatic world. Imagine holding a coin with a visible double die error, where Lincoln's features appear shadowed, or the words, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," seem to echo. Or a coin struck off-center, creating a crescent shape of blank space where design should be. These errors make the coin unique, literally one of a kind. And that rarity drives up the value astronomically, especially when paired with a coin in high-grade condition. Condition matters a great deal in the world of coin collecting. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, and those that rank close to 70 are considered mint state, or MS. A 1974 penny with a rare error and a high MS grade? That's a collector's dream. These coins are often authenticated by grading companies like PCGS or NGC, sealed in tamper-proof cases, and tracked by serious investors who understand their market potential. Now let's add in one more layer: demand. The Lincoln cent is one of the most collected coins in American history. Generations of Americans have grown up saving pennies, hunting for wheatbacks, and searching for errors with magnifying glasses. That means there's a huge market of passionate collectors looking for just the right piece to complete their sets or make their next big discovery, and for those lucky enough to uncover a 1974 Lincoln penny with all the right ingredients, an eye-catching error, exceptional condition, and a traceable history, the rewards can be absolutely incredible. You might be wondering, what's the actual value of one of these rare 1974 pennies? We're not talking about pocket change anymore. We're not even talking about a few $100s. The right coin, verified and certified, can go to auction and spark fierce bidding wars. Collectors with deep pockets will pay big to get their hands on a coin that stands out in the sea of copper, and so, here's the moment we've been leading to. One such 1974 Lincoln 1-cent penny, featuring a major minting error, preserved in mint state, authenticated by professionals, and pursued by elite collectors, did exactly that. After making its way through the grading process and into a high-profile numismatic auction, it stunned the crowd and etched its name into coin collecting history. That single penny, yes, just one tiny cent, sold for an unbelievable $125,000. Just think about that for a moment. Something so small, so overlooked, turned into a six-figure treasure. This isn't just a story about money, it's a story about curiosity, patience, and the excitement of discovery. So next time you get change back at the store, or you're sorting through an old coin jar, don't rush. Look closely at those dates, examine the details, and see if anything seems just a little different. Because you never know. The next legendary coin might be right there in your hand. If you enjoyed this deep dive into coin collecting mysteries and hidden treasures, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more incredible stories, and drop a comment below if you've ever found a coin that turned out to be worth far more than you expected. Thanks for watching, and remember, every penny has a story. Some of them are worth more than anyone ever imagined. Top 4. What if I told you that one of the most ordinary, overlooked coins in your pocket, the smallest denomination of US currency, could be worth more than your car, your rent for an entire year, or even your savings account? Hard to believe, right? But it's true. Today, we're diving into a coin that looks just like any other, until it doesn't. The United States of America Lincoln 1-cent penny from the year 1975 is not only a piece of American history but also a potential jackpot hiding in plain sight. Let's take a moment and go back to 1975. America was recovering from the Vietnam War. The country was adjusting to life post-Watergate. Pop culture was buzzing with new sounds, the Cold War was still looming, and the economy was unpredictable. But through all the turmoil, life went on, and so did the minting of pennies. In 1975, the U.S. Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents. Most of these coins were created at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, and they all featured the iconic profile of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, with the famous Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Victor David Brenner's design had already become one of the most recognizable images in American coinage, and for over 6 decades by that point, it had served as a symbol of Lincoln's legacy. The composition of the 1975 penny was still 95% copper and 5% zinc, just as it had been for years. Each coin weighed about 3.11 grams, and to most Americans, they were just a way to make exact change. But here's where it gets interesting. Because while the design and material stayed the same, not all of these pennies were created perfectly. Now, errors during the minting process are not entirely uncommon. When you're producing billions of coins, mistakes are bound to happen. But every so often, one of those errors turns a common coin into something truly extraordinary. That's exactly what happened with a few rare examples of the 1975 Lincoln cent. Imagine a coin that looks slightly off at first glance, but when examined closely, reveals something special. Maybe the date is doubled, maybe the inscriptions show signs of shadowing, or maybe the entire strike is off-center. These are not defects to a collector, they're discoveries. And when those errors occur on coins that are already in pristine condition, they become extremely valuable. One of the most sought-after types of mint error is the double die. On a 1975 penny, a double die obverse means the coin's die struck the front image twice, just slightly misaligned. The result? Words like "liberty," "in God we trust," and even the date appear to be duplicated, with faint shadows or overlays. It's subtle, but once you've seen one, you'll never forget it. And if you find one in excellent condition, it could be worth far more than face value. There are also 1975 Lincoln pennies with off-center strikes. This happens when the coin isn't perfectly aligned under the die when it's struck. A portion of the coin's design is missing, and part of the blank planchet is visible. To collectors, that's not a mistake, it's a rare and exciting find. The more dramatic the misalignment, the higher the value. And if the date is still clearly visible, the price jumps even higher. But perhaps the most magical part of this whole story is the possibility that these coins, these extraordinary 1975 pennies, could be sitting in your house right now. They could be inside an old change jar, inside a desk drawer, in your grandma's coin purse, or mixed into a childhood piggy bank that hasn't been touched in decades. All it takes is one moment of curiosity to spark a discovery that could change your life. Now, you might be wondering, how do I know if my 1975 penny is worth anything? Start by looking for visible doubling on the front of the coin, especially around the lettering and numbers. Check for off-center strikes, unusual textures, or strange shapes. And don't forget about condition. The better preserved your coin is, the higher its potential value. A coin that looks untouched, with no scratches or wear, can be worth significantly more than one that's been through decades of circulation. Collectors and investors alike rely on professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC to authenticate and evaluate rare coins. If you think you have something special, it's worth having it looked at. A certified high-grade coin with a visible error becomes not just a collectible, it becomes a market asset. And speaking of the market, let's talk about what happens when a rare 1975 Lincoln penny gets discovered, authenticated, and placed in front of the right buyers. That's where things get truly exciting. Numismatic auctions attract collectors from all over the world, people who are willing to spend serious money to add rare coins to their private collections. It's not unusual for a seemingly ordinary penny to become the star of the show, which brings us to a truly incredible moment in coin collecting history. A rare 1975 Lincoln 1-cent coin, featuring a striking mint error, preserved in exceptional condition, and certified by top graders, made its way into a major coin auction. After intense bidding and widespread interest, the final hammer came down, and the price shocked even the auction house. That single 1975 penny was sold for a jaw-dropping $115,000, yes, you heard that right. A 1-cent coin, the kind we've all passed around without a second thought, became a six-figure collector's item. That's the magic of numismatics. It's not just about old coins, it's about stories, history, rarity, and the thrill of the hunt. So the next time you're handed a penny, or you spill out a pocketful of change, take a second to look closely. Because that small, copper-colored coin could be worth more than you ever imagined. And if it's from 1975, you might want to hold on to it. If you found this story fascinating, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more surprising coin discoveries, and leave a comment telling us if you've ever found a rare coin yourself. Keep checking those pennies, you never know which one will change your life. Top 5. There's something almost magical about coins. These tiny pieces of metal pass through millions of hands, carrying untold stories across time. We rarely give them much thought, especially the penny, the smallest and most overlooked coin in our daily lives. But what if I told you that one of those pennies, a Lincoln 1-cent coin minted in 1979, could be worth more than a luxury car? What if the answer to a small fortune is sitting quietly in a drawer, inside an old coin jar, or hidden in your wallet right now? Today, we're talking about the 1979 Lincoln penny. It may look ordinary to the untrained eye, but this little copper coin has a history, a mystery, and in rare cases, a value that will leave you stunned. Let's start with some context. The year was 1979. America was going through change. Inflation was rising, technology was advancing, and pop culture was booming. Sony released the Walkman, McDonald's introduced the Happy Meal, and in the US Mint, billions of pennies were being pressed and released into circulation. They were the coins that bought gumballs, paid parking meters, and disappeared into couch cushions across the country. The 1979 Lincoln cent followed the long-standing design by Victor David Brenner, featuring the bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side, and Frank Gasparo's image of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. This classic design had been in use for decades, and by then, it was as familiar to Americans as the stars and stripes. The coin was composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc, just as it had been for most of the 20th century, giving it that warm, reddish tone and heavier feel. The U.S. Mint produced 1979 pennies in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Most of these coins were mass-produced and circulated in huge numbers, used for everyday transactions and forgotten just as quickly. But here's where things start to get interesting. Not every penny that year came out of the mint exactly as intended. And for coin collectors, that's where the real treasure begins. Mistakes happen during the coin production process. A die might strike a coin twice. A blank planchet might be misaligned. Sometimes, an old die is reused past its prime, leading to faint or blurred details. These aren't just minor factory errors, they are prized discoveries in the world of numismatics. Why? Because they're rare, unintentional, and usually one of a kind. One of the most fascinating things about the 1979 penny is that several of these rare errors have been identified, and they can turn an ordinary-looking coin into an extraordinary find. One of the most notable is the double die obverse. This error occurs when the die that imprints the design onto the coin strikes it twice, just slightly off alignment. The result is subtle doubling, most often seen in the inscriptions like "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or the date. To a casual observer, it might look like a minor blur, but to a trained eye, it's a sign of something very special. Another error that makes some 1979 pennies incredibly valuable is the off-center strike. These coins were struck improperly, meaning the design appears shifted to one side, often leaving a portion of the coin blank. The more dramatic the error, and the more complete the visible date, the higher the value. Then there are die cracks, repunched mint marks, and even coins struck on the wrong type of metal planchet. All of these errors are rare. And rarity, in the world of coin collecting, is everything, but the story doesn't stop at the minting error. What also matters, hugely, is the condition of the coin. The official coin grading scale runs from 1 to 70, with higher numbers representing better preserved coins. A coin that has never been in circulation, free of scratches and wear, and showing a rich, full luster, is known as being in mint state. Combine that kind of condition with a rare error from 1979, and now you're holding something that collectors are willing to fight over. Coin collectors aren't just hobbyists, they're investors. They study auction records, examine trends, and seek out coins with both historic value and financial potential. They're looking for coins that no one else has. A one-of-a-kind error from a common year, like 1979, can become the crown jewel of someone's collection. Now imagine this. Someone, somewhere, received a 1979 penny in their change. Maybe they kept it for decades without realizing its significance. Or maybe it sat untouched in a coin roll, waiting patiently to be discovered. Then one day, it caught the eye of a collector, or was submitted to a grading service. And after careful examination, it was confirmed, a rare error, in near-perfect condition, with unmistakable characteristics that made it stand out from millions of others. It didn't just end up in a coin album or a collector's case. It went to auction. And when it did, the bidding escalated fast. Because when a truly rare piece shows up in the numismatic world, the value doesn't stay grounded, it climbs. And now, here comes the part that still leaves people speechless. That one rare and exceptional 1979 Lincoln penny, certified, preserved, and featuring a striking mint error, was sold to a passionate collector for an unbelievable total of $95,000. That's right. A coin that once cost just 1 cent, now valued at $95,000. It's more than a penny, it's a piece of American history, a collectible work of art, and a rare financial asset all in one. So the next time you're going through your change, don't be so quick to toss that penny aside. Take a closer look. Examine the date. Study the lettering. Who knows? You might just be holding the next treasure that's been hiding in plain sight all along. If you enjoyed this journey into the hidden world of coin collecting, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more amazing stories, and leave a comment. Have you ever found a rare coin in your change? Your story could be the next one worth telling. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes, the smallest coins hold the biggest surprises.